And with me in studio today, Sam Dorsey from the Tidewater Classical Guitar Society, Agnes Mobley-Wynn from Schola Cantorum, and David Walker from ODU's Percussion Ensemble. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Listen, I have to start this out by saying that as a programmer on the radio, years ago, I heard a recording of this Misa Criolla by Arial Ramirez, and I thought, wow, this is maybe something that's not going to work on the radio, but we'll give it a shot anyway. The listeners responded so overwhelmingly, and you know, when you first hear the work, you're really drawn into it. And I think that the Tidewater region is really lucky to have this piece of music being performed live here for not one show, not two shows, but for 4 separate performances. So if you're listening, you've got to treat yourself to this experience. And it is an experience, is it not, Agnes?
Absolutely.
Tell me how you decided to do this work.
Well, I was approached at the end of last season by one of the members of Schola Cantorum, who also happens to be a member of Tidewater Guitar Orchestra, Dan Cudney, who brought this piece to my attention. He gave me 2 recordings, one the more formal recording with Carreras, and an older recording which was very folksy and funky. And I listened to them both and was taken with both of them. They're wonderful. And we wanted to do a collaboration with the guitar orchestra and also with the percussion ensemble, and it seemed the perfect venue, and it also lends itself to not just one soloist, but a mix of voices, so you can really call on many different people, and that's exactly what we did. All of our soloists are from within the group, so we're going back toward the folksier, funkier performance, which is very dancey and exciting.
Sam Dorsey, tell me what you found out about this piece of music. You've done some research on it.
Oh, just a little bit. It's one of those pieces you hear it and you ask yourself, "No, why don't I know this piece?" And we are thankful to Dan Cudney. Dan's been with our guitar orchestra for some time and toured with us to Costa Rica and got so taken with Latin American music, and then especially more recently with his charango. I think he did all this arranging so he could play his charango.
Yes, that's right.
In public. We always kid him about the legitimacy of that instrument. But the piece was written by Arial Ramirez in 1963, which is a year after the Second Vatican Council, and I believe it's the first Spanish-language mass from Latin America. He recorded it with resources in Argentina in 1964, but the piece really kind of caught on when it was premiered in Dusseldorf, Germany in 1967. And it's been going strong since. And again, it's one of those pieces you hear it and you go, why don't I know this piece?
Tell the listeners a little bit more about Mr. Ramirez.
Well, he was born in 1921 in Santa Fe, Argentina, and I looked at a map, and that's in kind of the northern Andean region of Argentina, not far from Bolivia. And he's a fine young pianist, but kind of a self-made musicologist before his formal training. He traveled around, especially in northern Argentina and Bolivia, learning the indigenous music culture there and the South American rhythms especially, which he incorporated in his music. He studied formally in Europe in Madrid and Vienna in the 50s. And you were telling me about a story of some nuns that he met in Germany that might have had something to do with the genesis of this. What was that?
Right. Apparently he was studying in Germany and staying in the countryside at this convent, and these 2 nuns told him that they had helped some Jewish prisoners who were being held in a concentration camp by bringing them food. And he thought, well, maybe I should write a mass about humanity. And then maybe that sort of ties in with the Vatican Council, this allowing Mass to be said in a language other than Latin. So he felt, well, okay, this is a good time to do this sort of thing. This work has some very unusual scoring, and I think that's one of the most exciting aspects of it. Of course, the singing is beautiful, but the scoring behind it is really something else. And I'd like for David Walker, who's with us from ODU's Percussion Ensemble, tell me what kind of forces you're going to be bringing into this.
Into this piece specifically, some of the Spanish The Latin American instruments we'll be using congas. We'll also be using a wooden box that's called a cajon, used in a lot of flamenco and Spanish music. There's a movement that actually starts with jingle bells, with jingling bells, sleigh bells, and then other little spices. What we've done is we've actually taken the score that he wrote out and used it more as a roadmap for the rhythms that perhaps he wanted, and added our own flavoring to it, as Agnes directed and said, please feel free to add some things. So you'll hear some other interesting things, some finger cymbals, and
so some ad-libbing.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, that's good. I think
Absolutely.
actually in the spirit of this piece of music, from what I've heard, I think that would be perfectly fine with the composer. I think he would love that.
I think it really is indicated. It seems to just beg for that kind of freedom of expression, and that's one of the things that I find very exciting about it.
We have to ad lib because the guitarist's playing in it, and we can't read music, so we. That's the old joke for you at home.
I was going to ask you, tell me about what forces the guitars are going to play in this.
Well, the neat thing I think about our guitar orchestra, which is modeled on one in Costa Rica, is we're not all playing guitars. We're playing guitars of different sizes. Alto guitars called requintos, tuned up a fifth. Regular guitars, and low guitars called bajas, which are like our cello. So that, I think, livens things up a lot. And we are starting to improvise more and more, and we'll have a rehearsal night. We're looking forward to that.
And Agnes, tell me the structure of this program. Obviously, the Misa Criolla only lasts about 24 minutes, so the rest of the program is going to be what? What are you going to feature?
We talked about this when we got together for our first meeting, the three of us, along with Dan Cudney, and decided that we would bookend the program with the Misa Criolla. So the first two movements, the Kyrie and the Gloria, will be at the start of the program. The final three movements, the Credo, Sanctus, and Agnus Dei, come at the very end. And in between are some things that each group is doing either alone or in another collaboration. So my ensemble, Schola Cantorum, is going to do some a cappella villancicos, which are little songs written around 1500. They're for the Spanish-speaking community. They will understand what these songs are about. They're very bawdy and very exciting. Lots of fun rhythms. We're having a lot of fun with that. We're also doing a piece by Pablo Casals, Nigra Sum, just for the women in the ensemble. So our portion is all a cappella, and then each of the other groups is bringing in some things that they're doing on their own as well.